Hello there, boxing fans around the world. Thank you for joining me once again here on Talk and Fight for another episode of Boxing News Today. And I can see we have an awful lot of headlines from around the world screaming Creator Clash 2. They have done a fantastic job of working with the media, obviously, around the world to promote not only their event and also their causes, their charities that they're supporting, but also boxing. So this is really good news for boxing. And I just want to start off with a story that I found or two that are interesting. These feature a couple of fellows who were on the show last year, the first Creator Clash held over in Tampa. Harley Morenstein, you might know him for his food channel on YouTube called Epic Mealtime, and he's known for cooking bacon-wrapped meals. But at the end of the day, he's going to square off against a professional wrestler by name of John Hennigan. I think it's John Morrison, and if you're looking at him in WWE terms. And it's one of 12 bouts, as we said yesterday, that will make up Creator Clash 2. Interestingly enough, he said he's talking about the event, says the author. This is an NBC News, by the way. NBC. The event brings unlikely internet celebrities together to do something unexpected. It's like a concert crossed with Dancing with the Stars, if the stars were punching each other in the face. Said Mornstein. When I was there, I thought the vibe was way more similar to VidCon or fan meetup of his fight last year. People came with their merchandise already. They're fans of certain fighters. They wanted to watch one person on the card. They didn't care who they were fighting. So it'll be, as I said, Mornstein's second bout. And as I said, last year he emerged victorious against his old friend, Aaron Hansen, who has a gaming channel on YouTube called Game Grumps. And Mornstein said it surprised him. I had his little blood stain on my glove, and he was fine. But I was still like, oh my God, he's supposed to go to Busch Gardens today, and he's got a bloody nose. I'm like, what am I doing here? Anyway, so the story goes on quite extensively to describe other YouTubers and influencers, as they're known, and how they have gotten involved in boxing, potentially starting with KSI back in 2018 when he fought Joe Weller. So it's been going on for quite a while, and Jake Paul has certainly made it quite popular among the influencer crowd, as have former legends of the boxing sport, Floyd Mayweather Jr., Roy Jones Jr., even Manny Pacquiao is getting back in the ring. But anyway, that is because of the popularity of boxing and its increasing stature around the world. Anyway, so let's bounce on after NBC. I see that the British are all over this as well. Now, keeping in mind of the time difference, so the ring walks are going to be like 3, 4 a.m. In the morning in England, yet the British media are all over this as well. Fantastic job done by the promoters and the publicists handling Creator Clash. And you might be aware that Talk and Fight will be there at the event as well, covering it live. Our good buddy Jay Velez, he'll be there, and others to cover the event, to hopefully catch a few words from these influencers and the impact of boxing on their lives and how they intend to use boxing to influence their charity decisions. iDubbbz, Ian Jumha, who created it, and Alex Wasabi are going to go toe-to-toe on Creator Clash 2 at the Amalie Arena. I mentioned that yesterday. It's taking place in Tampa. And they're going to fight each other. It's a sanctioned 4-round super middleweight main event bout. And one of the things that I noticed when going through the various cards yesterday, weights weren't really mentioned. More like personalities were mentioned. Someone is going to fight someone. So if you're following, if you're a rabid fan of one of these influencers, and they have anywhere between 20 and 40 million followers around the world, they're incredibly popular personalities. The weight classes weren't really of concern, I suppose. But it was interesting that the British Boxing News channel has picked up on this and said what the weight class is for these two fellas, iDubbbz, who's co-created the event, and Alex Wasabi. It's going to be a great fight, by the way. iDubbbz did lose his battle, by the way, last year, and I don't know if Wasabi was in last year's fight or not. But anyway, I said, iDubbbz, I'm ready to get in the ring and show everyone what I'm made of. He told the British press, I've been training hard and I'm feeling confident. This is going to be a fun night of boxing with our charities and fans being the beneficiaries. And he's not swayed from that messaging, I might add. Wasabi echoed iDubbbz's sentiments, saying, I'm thrilled to be making my pro boxing debut. Well, that answers that question. Against Ian. We're both coming into this with something to prove, and I'm ready to give it my all. So fans can watch the highly anticipated matchup between iDubbbz and Wasabi live on Moment. That's the official live streaming partner of Creative Clash 2. The event promises to be an unforgettable experience for all those involved, and iDubbbz and Wasabi's boxing match is just one of the many exciting highlights to look forward to. Now we're going to zip over to what the Mirror over in the UK had to say. YouTube boxing is back this weekend in Florida's Amalie Arena with iDubbbz versus Alex Wasabi, the main event of this year's iteration of the Creator Clash. The charity boxing tournament will pit over 20 social media stars against one another in a white-collar tournament, with the main event between iDubbbz, whose real name is Ian Jomha, and Alex Wasabi, a professional bout. The pair have both fought once before, with Jomha losing his debut to Dr. Mike last May, and Wasabi defeating Digi in his first bout the previous March. This year's event will see a number of high-profile debuts, by the way, including, as I mentioned earlier, WWE star John Hennigan, better known from his ring name, John Morrison. I was correct. But there will also be a number of returning fighters from last year's event, including Hennigan's opponent, Harley Mornstein, who we mentioned right off the top, from Epic Mealtime, and the 42-year-old Nathan Dad Barnett. And, says the Mirror, here's what you need to know about this year's Creator Clash event. The return of the Creator Clash takes place at the Amalie Arena in Tampa, Florida, April 15th, a venue notable as the spot where Jake Paul knocked out Tyrone Woodley. Unfortunately for British fans, this means another late night or early warning if you want to catch your favorite influencers throwing hands, given the 5-hour time difference. Expect the ring walks to be around 2:30 a.m. or 3 a.m. UK time for the main event, with the card starting at 10 p.m. British time, with a bout between Jack Manifold and the returning Dakota Olave. The event will be broadcast live on Moment pay-per-view, with the main broadcast starting at 10 p.m. in the UK and a price to be announced. The event will cost £20.50 and can be purchased online. You can watch the event on multiple devices, including laptops, smart TVs, and through their mobile app. And the action able to be mirrored up to the TV. Did I just say that? Yeah, okay. Alrighty, let's have a quick look at the fight card. iDubbbz on Wasabi, Harley Mornstein on against former WD star John Hennigan, Chris Reagan versus someone to be announced. Someone we featured yesterday, Marisha Ray, who's famous for her Critical Role, versus Haley Sharp, Yodeling Haley, who we mentioned yesterday. Myth versus Hundar. Aaron Hansen's back. Gang Grumps versus Jarvis Johnson. Adriel Botez versus Michelle Knar. Alana Pierce versus R.I.P. Mecca. Crank Gameplays versus Lionheart. Nathan Barnett, that's Dad. AB Ayad, he's also known as Star Killer, the H3 podcast. Jay Larray versus Abelina Sabrina. And Jack Manifold versus Dakota Olave, as I said earlier. So quick quotes here from iDubbbz. As quoted in the Mirror in the UK, naturally, what I think I'm looking for, especially when we're just kind of randomly recruiting people for this event, is people who have an impact on the culture. Alex Wasabi is an OG YouTuber. He might not be familiar with the new Zoomers on TikTok and stuff, and I might not be as well. But I think our goal is to attract people from all different generations. You know, some people aren't going to speak to some of the audience, but I think Alex Wasabi definitely speaks to a group of millennials who are heavily on YouTube during a certain time. Yeah, so there you go. Promoting boxing across the generations. Speaking of promoting boxing, something we're all going to look forward to if it happens, and something that Ebony Bridges says will break the internet. And it features one of my female fighters, Avril Mathie. And here's what Ebony Bridges had to say about a fight that might happen this year. I'm quoting from the Daily Mail. It's published in Australia, written by Dan Cancian. Glamorous boxing world champion Ebony Bridges has joked a fight between her and fellow Australian Avril Mathie would, quote, break the internet, end quote. The blonde bomber has become renowned for her racy weigh-in outfits, while Mathie steps on the scales wearing a bikini. And Bridges suggested the pair may up the ante should they finally manage to get their long-awaited fight on. I love Avril. Avril, she said, I think she's great, honestly. She works really hard, and I respect her for what she does, her hustle, her lifestyle, and what she's done. Um, Both Bridges and Mathie, the 2014 Miss Swimsuit USA International champ, hugely popular OnlyFans accounts. Last month, Bridges revealed she was making so much money from the platform, where her content ranges from tame to pornography, that she could retire from boxing whenever she wanted. But the Australian has no interest in hanging up her gloves and is determined to get in the ring with Mathie. The pair were supposed to fight this year, but Bridges broke her hand in a world title fight against Shannon O'Connell when retaining the title with a brutal eighth round stoppage win back in December. Mathie's dream of fighting her compatriot, meanwhile, were dealt a blow as she lost to Britain's Ramla Ali in her first defeat as a professional back in February. But Bridges remains confident the fight will happen, and unsurprisingly, she backs herself to retain her title. I don't really see it going past first 4 or 5 rounds, obviously with me winning, she said. Avril's a tough Aussie, but so is Shannon O'Connell. I'm just betting, and I'm just getting better and better. So it will be exciting if we have that fight, and I'd like to fight her. And as she said, we're in talks for a fight. I would like to give her that opportunity because I think she's great and I think she deserves it. Mathie, for her part, said she's really excited for the fight, but acknowledges Bridges will be a formidable opponent. That goes without saying. She brings it and likes to come forward and never really takes a step backward, but I can also bang and come forward. And so I think there will be fireworks, and I think it'll be an exciting fight, said Mathie. I'm significantly taller than her, so for me, it's going to be about keeping her away from me, which will be a challenge because we've seen how she likes to get in. But it's one that I'm ready for, and as soon as her hand's better, we can get it on. All right. We all look forward to that, I guarantee you. On the more serious note, Jim Calfa over in Boxing News 24 has said heavyweight fringe contender Jared Anderson, the real big baby, says he wants top names in the division after his victory over second-tier fighter George Arias last weekend, a fight held in Newark, New Jersey. Assuming his promoters at Top Rank give the 23-year-old Anderson 14-0, 14 knockouts, his wish of putting him in with a notable heavyweight, they would need to choose wisely because the opposition thus far has been exclusively ham and eggers that would lose to virtually anyone in the top 15. That's the problem. Anderson has been matched similarly by Top Rank as one of their former stable fighters, Edgar Berlanga, who started his career with his 16 straight first-round knockouts. When they advanced into fringe-level fighters, he struggled, looked terrible, and is no longer with the company. Will the same thing happen to Jared Anderson, asks this writer. It would be a good idea for Top Rank to be conservative with who they match up, the 6'4", 240-pound Jared, if they step him up, because as we saw in his fight with Arias last Saturday, he's very easy to hit and he lacks power. Anderson leaves himself open when he attacks his opponents with combinations. His hand-eye coordination isn't the best, and he's unable to block incoming shots. Right now, Jared is getting away with having poor defensive skills because the fighters that Top Rank is feeding him have zero power. But that'll change, obviously, if they grant him his wish to start fighting top contenders in the division. The ideal starter opponent for Anderson would be Dillian Whyte, as he's old, shot, chinny, and is well known in the boxing world. However, Whyte's promoter, Eddie Hearn, probably won't let Top Rank use him as a stepping stone for Anderson to destroy to make a name for himself. Hearn still has plans on using Whyte as a confidence booster for his fading star Anthony Joshua to get a win and make a little coin from the British fans. If Hearn were willing to let Top Rank use White as a trial horse, he'd be perfect for Anderson. Options, however, for Jared Anderson's step-up fight include Carlos Takam, Fabio Wardley, Luis Ortiz, Murat Gassiev, Joseph Parker, Derek Chisora, Otto Wallen, Tony Yoka, F.A. Ajagba, Ajit Kabayal, Charles Martin, and David Adelea. Now we'll see what happens. But speaking of Anthony Joshua, we're going to get to him in a sec because I wanted to tell you a quick little story about Joe Joyce. Olympic silver medal winner Joe Joyce is less than a week away with his scheduled showdown against Chinese giant Zhang Shailai. Joyce, who's sporting a 15-0 record, 14 knockouts, will defend his WBO interim heavyweight title fight against Zhang on Saturday night. That's upcoming. A victory would place Joyce in line for a mandatory crack at unified world champion Alexander Usyk. Usyk has already been ordered to make a mandatory against WBA regular champ Daniel Dubois, and both sides have already begun discussions to have a showdown sometime in the summer. Joyce holds a knockout win over Dubois. His former foe gets the quicker title crack as a result of a mandatory schedule agreement between the sanctioning organizations. The winner of Usyk versus Dubois will likely have to make a mandatory defense against the IBF's top man, Filip Hrgovic. The big puncher is not overly pleased, that'd be Joyce, that his world title opportunity is potentially at least a year away. It is annoying, Joyce told Sky Sports. It's really annoying that Dubois is headed in the queue and Hrgovic as well. And my comment there is maybe he should go up against Big Baby Anderson. And so let's move over then to Anthony Joshua as promised and whether or not he's opened the door for a Tyson Fury fight in 2023. Now, remember, Eddie Hearn had planned other opponents than Tyson Fury for Anthony Joshua to fight this year to regain his confidence more than anything. Anthony Joshua confirmed his next fight is scheduled for December after he marked his return to the ring with a victory over Jermaine Franklin. But why the long wait? Asks John Denon out of Sky Sports. We explore some of the big questions surrounding an intriguing few months for the former heavyweight champion of the world. What's next? So let's look at some of the pressing questions surrounding a fascinating year ahead for Joshua and the rest of the heavyweight division. Anthony Joshua beat Jermaine Franklin by unanimous decision. It was his first fight since his second loss to Usyk last August and his first victory since 2020. After that fight, Joshua gave every indication they wanted to box more regularly and was targeting a second bout of the year in July. But now he's revealed on social media that instead he will sit out most of 2023 and only return to action in December. He posted, "My next fight is scheduled for December. Not ideal, but everything is part of a bigger picture." And so why the long wait? It's not immediately clear why Joshua has ruled out fighting later this summer. Though he didn't secure a knockout against Franklin, he controlled the contest overall and didn't appear to suffer any injuries that would sideline him for a sustained period of time. But his reference to the bigger picture is a possible hint that the intention is to set up a major fight. Interestingly, it seems it can take a very long time indeed to make the biggest fights. So could this open the door for Anthony Joshua to fight Tyson Fury? And not at this point that we care, but let's just see what the British Reporter has to say. We've been down this road before repeatedly. When Fury and Joshua were both champions, they started up talks for a fight that did not materialize. And at the end of last year, after Joshua's loss to Usyk, their teams restarted negotiations that again came to nothing. But Joshua did insist after beating Franklin that WBC champ Fury was his target, the pot of gold, as he put it. It's a sign that Joshua wants the fight, and by taking plenty of time before boxing again, AJ is giving both teams months to work through their differences. Plus, they're more likely to secure a vast site fee from a location in the Middle East for a fight in December. And so what does this mean for the undisputed heavyweight championship fight? The wait for that is likely to be even longer now. Tyson Fury was in talks with Usyk to stage a fight that would unify all four of the major titles and establish the heavyweight division's first undisputed champ in 2 decades. But those negotiations publicly imploded last month. Usyk is already going in a different direction. The WBA instructed him to make a mandatory defense of his belt against Daniel Dubois, which leaves Fury without a fight scheduled. Having already beaten Deontay Wilder twice, the most significant fights for him to take now, apart from Usyk, of course, would be defensive against either Anthony Joshua or Joe Joyce. So, Is the wait good for Joshua? Being out of the ring for so long once again is a gamble. If it does enable him to secure Tyson Fury fight, that would be important for his legacy in itself. Even more so were he to win it. But Joshua has had 3 different trainers in his last 3 fights who benefit more from new coach Derek James if they had more fights and more time together. Furthermore, inactivity has been an unwelcome feature of Joshua's career since his momentous 2017 victory over Vladimir Klitschko. He fought once in 2020, once in 2021, and once in 2022. Joshua only started boxing at the age of 18, so he only had a short, albeit highly successful amateur career. He would certainly have helped. It clearly would have helped his development as a fighter to have more rounds of competitive experience. The weight may help Joshua secure the super fight he needs, but a tune-up bout first would surely leave him in a better position to win it. Well, there you go. One quick little note here regarding Devin Haney and the Lomachenko fight. The world title fight and the grandson of the greatest takes center stage on Saturday, May 20th, as part of ESPN televised prelims to the pay-per-view main event, headlined by undisputed lightweight champ Devin Haney in his title defense against former 3-division champ Vasily Lomachenko, taking place at the MGM Grand Garden Arena over in Las Vegas. The 2-fight telecast is headlined by the vacant WBO junior bantamweight world title showdown between former WBA champ Andrew Maloney, 25-2, and undefeated former WBO flyweight titleist Junto Nakatani, 24-0. Opening the broadcast will be undefeated middleweight prospect Nico Ali Walsh. He's 8-0, the grandson of Muhammad Ali, in a scheduled 8-rounder against a to-be-determined foe. And there you have it, boxing fans. Thanks for joining me once again here on Talk and Fight. I appreciate it very much. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you later on at 4 p.m. when I join Mike Orr and Cedric Ben for their show, Knuckle Up.